In this blog, I'm going to look at the four broad categories of positively geared properties and some of the traps that the unwary players can fall into. Firstly, purchasing a property with a large enough deposit so that your interest bill and your property expenses are covered by your rent, that gives you a positive cash flow. So virtually any property can be positively geared. Now, if you already have a home mortgage, which is non-tax deductible, you'd be crazy to use that cash to pay off a tax-deductible debt. Now, so it would only make sense putting in a large enough deposit into a property if you already have your mortgage paid off. The other way of getting a positively geared property is trying to find one that is returning, or in other words, renting, for 2 to 3% above the standard mortgage variable rate. So, for example, if the mortgage rate's around 6, you're looking between 8 to 9% yield. Now, properties like this tend to be exceptional. That is, not exceptionally good, just that they are exceptional and that they're not mainstream. Now, a couple of examples come to mind. The first one is in the USA. The second is remote or regional areas here in Australia. And the third broad category is what we call hotel rooms. Now, there's heavy risk in each one of those three classes, and today I just want to go through some of those so you can have some understanding of what they're all about. Now, firstly, in the US, we only have to look in the state of Detroit, which just declared bankruptcy. It was once the 7th largest city in the US, and as a result of that bankruptcy, home values have fallen so much they are virtually worthless. There are no Australian or US banks, for that matter, that will use those properties as collateral for the loan. Now, what does that tell you? The next category is what we call remote regional. Now, these could be considered a mining town. Now, these towns in recent years have shown some quite enormous growth in both values and rent. However, their sustainability is really determined as to what the international commodity market is doing, and they tend to be overly dependent on just one singular market. Now, when demand is up, there's a shortage of housing. Why that happens is that all the workers come into a town, they find they can't get enough accommodation, that pushes up the rentals and also values. Now, also the reverse is true. When the commodity market falls, the workers leave the town, leaving a lot of empty houses, and consequently values and rentals plunge. So in the short term, they could be great investments. In the long term, they don't really have that sustainability for long-term growth. And the next area is hotel rooms. Now, selling an investor a hotel room, or a serviced apartment as they're more commonly called, is a very, very clever way for the hoteliers to shift the burden of funding a hotel room from themselves to individual investors. Now, these apartments can't be used for owner-occupiers, and given that an owner-occupier make up 70% of the market, that's a large part of the market that's missing. And very few astute investors are interested in purchasing these properties simply for that reason. Now, this is why the banks won't use these properties as collateral for your loans, and will require an investor to put up another property, such as your home or another investment property. Now, while the promised returns may sound particularly high, and they are, it's the constant replacement and refurbishment that's required to keep the hotels or the serviced apartments looking fresh. It's that cost that kills the return to the investors. And unfortunately, investors find themselves in the property not only locked into a long-term management agreement, a 30-year one I saw the other day, but they also have a non-existent resale market. Now, in my next blog, I'm going to be covering off some of the benefits of negative gearing, and you can see for yourself as to how you can benefit from being negatively geared, but in a very positive way.